Come on, Jay. Don't have them start calling you Fake Paul after you being Jake Paul. It's over. Come on, you done well in that hustle. The hustle is over. Should I say the hustling is over?
Is it game over for Jake Paul? Oh no, say it ain't so. Bernard Hopkins seems to think so. Welcome to Beyond the Box Score. I'm your host, the DMV MVP, and today we're going to go beyond the scorecard as we break down this Jake Paul Rahman fight, could have been fight, and what went wrong and all the little politics, because there's a lot of stories, a lot of stuff floating around, and I'm going to just break it down for y'all real quick. And we're going to start with the comments you heard from Bernard Hopkins. So Bernard Hopkins did this interview with Fight Hype. It's a nice YouTube channel, great for boxing news and interviews. And they asked him his thoughts on the Jake Paul Rahman fight being canceled. And he basically stressed the point that the window for Jake Paul's act has closed. And now he actually has to do what real boxers do, and that's fight real boxers and come legit if he wants respect from the boxing world, whether it be hardcore boxing fans or the casual boxing fans. And he really stressed the fact that Jake Paul, he really came to rise at a great time. It was COVID, a lot of sports, a lot of events got canceled, so people were looking for something to entertain themselves. Now you see it even with just overall streaming and stuff like that. People are going back to their traditional ways. They want to just get out the house. And things like watching Jake Paul fight another guy that nobody respects as a fighter just isn't interesting, whether it be the average streamer or the person who wants to go see a boxing match live in person. And that brings me to the other point, which is he picked Madison Square Garden. You know, he's trying to fill a big venue. And again, if his window has closed, that's going to be really tough. They said basically at this point, a week away from the fight, they hadn't really sold enough tickets. They hadn't sold enough pay-per-views. The MSG seating chart was half empty, so you're not selling. And on top of that, the card, let's be honest, at this point, he needs to come forward with a better card. Before he could carry a card, but now he's at a point where he has to put some better fights on that card that interest people, whether it be hardcore or casual. And then not to mention his timing with the economy. People, when it comes to spending that extra buck, they're going to buy a gallon of gas. They're not going to buy a Jake Paul pay-per-view or fight ticket. They're more than likely just going to kick back and wait to see the highlights or just steal the stream. Let's be real. Now, the cancellation of this fight was actually predicted by another boxer by the name of Shawnporter, who broke it down like this.
Yeah. Let's say hasimrahmanjr and his camp are like, they understand that he's trying to get us to suck ourselves down. We're only going to go here. They'll massage it, Jake Paul. They'll massage it. They'll cancel the fight, and they'll massage it and make it all Hasim's fault, and they won't take the rap for anything. You know what I mean? Like he really has a way of doing this so that he's kind of like covered all of the bases. You know what I mean? So even if you take a look at the rehydration clause, he's covering all of his bases.
Shawnporter made this prediction weeks before the fight was canceled. He could smell it. He could smell the BS. You know, Jake Paul positioned it like, I'm fighting a fighter that's bigger than me. I'm 6'1", he's 6'3". He's heavier than me, usually carries his weight around 220, 230. Jake Paul goes around 200. And hasimrahmanjr has the impressive record on paper. Even though Jake Paul's undefeated, hasimrahman's 12-1, and he's been fighting professional fighters. Plus, he has an amateur boxing career. So it was made to give Jake Paul credibility, but on the back end, when they were negotiating the contract, Jake Paul made sure to give himself more of an advantage. And that was by making the catch weight at 200. Now, the Boxing Commission of New York said that's too much weight for him to drop. The catch weight has to be 205. And then Rahman tried to renegotiate the catch weight up to 215. And that's when Jake Paul just pulled out. But today, Rahman weighed in to prove that he was going to be able to make that catch weight at 205. Now, when he did weigh in, he weighed in at 206.6, I believe. But at the end of the day, it's not hard for a boxer to lose a pound or two. So that pretty much solidified that Jake Paul was really just using this as an easy excuse to get out, not have to face a real fighter, or not have to face the fact that he didn't sell. Now, despite all the politics, I thought this was going to be a pretty good fight. You know, styles make fights, and Jake Paul, despite what you may think about him, he's a trained boxer. He trains consistently. He believes in himself. And if he steps in the ring, he's not going to go in there sloppy like he's some guy plucked off the street doing street fights or tough man competitions. Rahman himself is a pretty good fighter. You know, he has a good jab. He knows how to work that jab to set up his combos. He's also, you know, ambidextrous in the ring. He can switch his stance up from right-handed to southpaw. And when he attacks and throws his combos, he's a good level changer. So this would have been a nice challenge for Jake Paul. And Jake Paul himself isn't a fighter to sleep on. Like I said, he does train, and his fighting style is one where he's aggressive. He does tend to come in with his head down a little bit too much, which can open him up to cuts and stuff. But that's because he likes to throw punches from weird angles. And it's sometimes hard to fight a fighter who's coming straight at you, has a good, strong right hand, and throws at weird angles. And because he throws at weird angles, people kind of look at him like, oh, he's just flailing, he's just throwing punches. No. If you look at even his knockout with Tyron Woodley, it looked like a crazy lucky right, but at the end of the day, he set it up with a fake jab to the body and then threw the overhand right, and that's what got Tyron Woodley to drop his left and open himself up for the knockout. So, you know, Rahman has his own issues. He has, you know, average to poor stamina. His power's not amazing, right? Jake Paul comes in with his head down, has a questionable chin. We've seen him get touched up. But, you know, again, Tyron Woodley, he's not one of those guys who lets his hands go, so we wasn't able to follow up. But if Rahman and Jake Paul actually stepped in the ring, I think it would have been an entertaining fight. But I just feel like Jake Paul didn't want to risk it. But in doing that, he seems to have played himself and lost his respect from not only the people, but the boxing community who was waiting for him to prove himself. Despite all the quote-unquote hate he might get from boxing or UFC, a lot of them just want to see him prove himself and earn the respect he's getting, and he missed out on a chance to do that. And they saw it from a mile away with all the stipulations. These guys aren't new to the game. When you put that type of writing in the contracts, people know what you're doing, and it's either to set up the advantage or to give yourself an escape clause. So tell me what you think. Do you think Jake Paul's running? Do you think he could have beat Rahman? I don't know. I think it would have been a pretty good fight, though. But thanks for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Box Score. I'm your host, the DMV MVP. Please like, please subscribe, please share, and comment in the comment section. Let's argue about it. Till next time, I'm out.